1 month has passed since I first got in my OnePlus 5, so I thought it'd be a perfect time to show you a full detailed review after using this device as my daily driver for so long. The length of this video might be a bit long, and most of you have seen quite a few videos on the OnePlus 5, so if you want to skip ahead to a specific part and just know my thoughts on a certain section, click the annotation on the screen if you're on a desktop, or if you're on a mobile device, use the times in the description. With that being said, let's jump right in. With the phone being sold for just under $500 here in the US, it's incredible how OnePlus still manages to pack it with the top of the line specs. Sure, there may be a lot of controversies about the design and some missing features, but in my opinion, after using it for so long, it's still a really good phone that won't disappoint. Before I move on to each category, I wanted to give a big shout out to our sponsors over at VideoBlocks. They have one of the fastest growing, largest stock video libraries with over 3 million videos, After Effects, and motion backgrounds that you can use for your videos. This includes the only contributor marketplace that gives 100% of the commission back to the artist. You also won't get any copyright claims if you use the clips, as they have a royalty-free agreement. If you want to check them out, go to videoblocks.com/YouTube or click the link in the description to start downloading it and get 7 days of VideoBlocks for free. Now back to the video. The materials used on the OnePlus 5 are an all aluminum back with good tactile button placement, the alert slider, a headphone jack, and curved edges to make it easier to grasp. On the front, you have a full-fledged Gorilla Glass 5 panel with a fingerprint sensor on the bottom. The overall design can be a bit boring, and I can see how it resembles an iPhone, but for me, it really wasn't a huge issue. OnePlus devices have never really been flashy in the first place. They've always just felt solid in the hand with a look that you won't think too much of once you begin to use the phone, and that's exactly how I feel about the build on the OnePlus 5. When turning on the screen, you still have a 5.5-inch 1080p AMOLED display like on the 3T. Some people hate that, but I actually don't mind it, especially since OnePlus had to cut corners to bring in that low price tag, and the display was one of them. Still, it's a decent one with good viewing angles, gets pretty bright for outdoor usage, and has great color accuracy with an option to tweak it in the settings. My only pet peeve would have to be that the screen has a bug known as the jelly effect due to it being mounted upside down. So when you're scrolling through your feeds, everything seems to be stretching away in the literal jelly motion. It's pretty minor, but when you notice it, you definitely notice it. Here's where it starts to get interesting. The fingerprint sensor on the OnePlus 5 is the fastest scanner yet. With just a light tap, the sensor unlocks the phone in 0.2 seconds, and it recognizes extremely well. A lot of people would have preferred it to be on the back, but I enjoy this placement as I can unlock the device while it's flat on a surface, and it can also act as the home button so you can save some screen space by not using the virtual keys. It may not be the main reason as to why you would buy the phone, but it's nice to know that it's the fastest one yet, even quicker than the 3T. When it comes to software, OnePlus delivers, and the OnePlus 5 is no exception. It's running the latest release of Oxygen OS on Android 7.1.1, and the overall interface is cleaner and lighter than ever. It has no bloatware, very few design tweaks when compared to stock Android, and some additional features that are appreciated. Some of the newer features include an auto night mode, which automatically adjusts the color temperature depending on your current time, 3 new off-screen letter gestures to activate specific function or app, customizable vibration, a reading mode that uses grayscale mapping to provide a reading experience similar to an e-reader, secure box to lock away private files in the file manager app, and so much more. There's plenty of more minor modifications that I left out, but if you're coming from a Pixel or a Nexus, you'll definitely be familiar with the UI. The overall performance of this device is also great. Sure, they may have cheated a bit with the benchmarking apps, as you may have heard, but they really didn't need to do that. You can't go wrong with a Snapdragon 835 and 628GB of RAM, especially since the OnePlus 5 has fewer pixels to handle and the interface is not overloaded with bloatware or unnecessary features. Animations are buttery smooth, opening and switching between apps are noticeably faster than the 3T, and navigating throughout the interface is a pleasure. This is still one of the fastest phones you can get right now, and it's no surprise since OnePlus has always succeeded in this particular area for quite a while now. Switching to the camera, let me start by saying that the shooters on this phone aren't horrible. You can get some solid shots in both the rear and front in whatever mode you're in, but there's still some room for improvement. So on the back, OnePlus went with a dual camera setup, the main one being a wide angle and the second one being a telephoto, so when you want to take a zoomed in picture, it will not lose as much detail when compared to a phone that only digitally zooms in. It does sound cool, but it still needs some work. One of the problems is that it has a smaller aperture size at f2.6, so it struggles when taking shots at night, and the missing feature of OIS doesn't help either. This means fuzzier pictures with less detail in low light situations, so it's not the best option for low light shooting. During the daytime though, they have great results. tons of detail, contrast, and color accuracy, video recordings especially in 4K brought in good results thanks to a recent update to support EIS and 4K recordings. You also get portrait mode, which blurs out the background of your subject to get a better depth of field. It was a hit or miss situation. Images shot in this mode had a lot of artificial processing, and you can definitely tell when looking at the edges of a subject. It doesn't look real at all. It's not the worst thing ever, but I didn't really use this feature too often. Overall, the camera on this phone is a pleasure, and I do appreciate a dual camera setup, but it's not the best one out there. Powering all of this is a 3300 mAh battery. Even though it has a bit less capacity than its predecessor, it still got me through the entire day without any extra charging. Personally, I'm a heavy user with Bluetooth, GPS, and Wi-Fi or cellular data enabled at all times, along with my brightness turned almost to the max. I saw a screen on time of around 4 to 5 hours, and you could probably push for 6 to 7 if you're a light user. Even if you forget to charge the device overnight, you can throw it on dash charge and you'll get a full charge in under an hour. You can't go wrong on this subject with the OnePlus 5. Other things to note is that this phone has Bluetooth 5.0, NFC, dual SIM card slots, 64 to 128 gigabytes of internal storage, so space within this phone shouldn't be a huge issue even if it doesn't support expandable storage, great support for rooting and ROM flashing, and frequent software updates. That's a lot of great features, but it is missing a few things that some of its other competitors have, such as water resistance, expandable storage, wireless charging, and it doesn't work on Sprint or Verizon's network. It is a bummer, but again, corners had to be cut to bring in that inexpensive price tag of $479 from upwards to $539 if you want more space and RAM. The price did go up a bit when compared to last year's model, but you're still getting your money's worth. With top of the line specs, extremely fast fingerprint sensors, stock-like Android software, dual rear cameras, great battery life and charging speeds, and more, this phone is not a bad option. It may not be the best smartphone you can get, but it sure competes well. If I were in the market for a decently cheap smartphone that could easily last me for another 1 to 2 years without becoming too outdated, I wouldn't look anywhere else. Well, that's it for my experience with the OnePlus 5 1 month later. Let me know in the comments what you think about this flagship. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Kapow!